Thomas Bookwalter, along with Ben Baker, David Frias, Alex Simon, and Joe Roberts. Great to have you guys back. Wow, you guys. I mean, we just finished the baseball postseason. I mean, have you seen, honestly, a better postseason in years? It's easy for all of us as Giants fans to say, well, last year we won it all. Come on, obviously. But you think about it, objectively, without our teams being involved, I don't think there's been a better postseason in years. That was so fun, and it all started, if you look at it, before the postseason started. Yeah. The last day of the regular season, game 162, all of a sudden you have 4 games that mean something at the end of the year, you know, and I remember I couldn't wait to get home. I was at the last Giants game, you know, I'm usually the last game, I'm like, you know, I go through a little withdrawal, you know, baseball season's over, I'm a little sad, Giants are done, thank you, Alex, I'm okay now, thank you, but you know, it's all, but then, you know, these games are still going on, you realize, oh my God, I was rushing home to watch these games, this was fun stuff, and you know, let's start. I think we should start with the American League. And we'll start with the wild card because that was so fun. I mean, you had, you know, obviously the Yankees won the division. And they won, you know, but then you had the wild card with the Red Sox had a 9-game lead late in the season. It looked good. It looked like, okay, fine. All of a sudden, the Rays go nuts. Not only did the Rays go nuts, the Red Sox fell apart. Mm-hmm. Same thing in the National League. The Braves, most of the season, let me ask this right now. Did anybody honestly think going into September the Braves were not going to win the wild card? And be honest.
I thought they had a shot at the World Series because I was assuming they'd make the playoffs as it was.
Yeah. I mean, so we all thought they were going to win the wild card. All of a sudden, it's coming down to the last day. You've got the Cardinals. The Cardinals beat the Astros. Then you're waiting. Then they're sitting around in the clubhouse waiting to see if the Phillies can beat the Braves, which they did. I mean, I don't know. That was a great last day of the regular season, and that started off a great postseason.
It's the single greatest day of baseball in the history of baseball. You've never had, you know, all 3 games on the East Coast, the one in Tampa Bay, the one in Baltimore, and the one in Atlanta, started at 7:05. They were all on national television. ESPN provided all 4 games. The St. Louis game started, you know, an hour after at 8:05 Eastern. All of this is Eastern time. Right. And remarkably, the St. Louis game being the last to start, first to finish. That was the only game that went 9 innings. Actually, correction, no. It was the NL game, it went 9 innings. The Braves ended up, you know, having opportunities. They blew it. They gave up a run in the 9th. You know, the game goes on and on. You see the Cardinals just sitting, waiting, thinking, are we going to have to go back to St. Louis for a game 163? Are we going to go to Philly for game 1 of the NLDS? And when the Phillies finally score on the 13th, the Braves just can't get it, and Freddie Freeman grounds into that double play. And the Cardinals, you see them celebrating. And that's before anything in the AL happened.
Right. I mean, exactly. In the American League, it all happened within, like, what, 2 minutes?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the Red Sox, the Orioles walked off against the Red Sox. I think about 3 minutes later, Evan Longoria hits a walk-off in Tampa Bay to win the wild card.
Well, you have to really, what you got to look at in the AL was that the Red Sox were winning 5-2, I believe the score was, in the bottom of the 7th. Actually, it was 3-2 rather. In the bottom of the 7th, when they go into a rain delay, they get to go into their clubhouse and sit back and relax for about an hour and 20 minutes, and they watch on ESPN as the Rays go from trailing 7-0 going into the bottom of the 8th to scoring 6 in the 8th, and then with 1 strike remaining in their season, they get a home run from a guy who hadn't gotten a hit, let alone a homer, since April of 2011 in the season.
Evan Longoria is not a desperate housewife anymore.
Former Oakland A,
Dan Johnson was the one who hit a home run with 1 strike left in the season, basically. Yep. And the Red Sox are sitting there on their bums in their clubhouse watching this and going, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. This team will not die. And, you know, then they finally get to go back out. It's back and forth. The Yankees had nobody in that was a regular. They refused to pitch Rivera, which upset some Red Sox fans. But the Red Sox are out there, and they're sitting there. And like you said, in the 9th inning, both the Red Sox are in the bottom of the 9th. You know, they're up 3-2 with 2 outs, and the Orioles have nobody on. The Rays don't have anybody on as they head to the bottom of the 12th, I believe it was. All of a sudden, a double, another double, and a single, and the Red Sox are gone.
Off of Papelbon.
All of it off of Papelbon. Exactly.
One of the best closers in the
Well,
league.
you know what happened with the Red Sox is, unlike the Cardinals, they didn't have a problem with their bullpen phone because someone got on the phone from the U.S.
That's in
Army
the
and
World-
said,
that's in the
Austin,
World
we
Series.
need another tank.
We're not there yet, but yeah, you're right.
But and then literally watching, at my house, we had all 4 games going on. It was constantly clicking. This game's a commercial. You knew there was going to be 2 other games that were going to be on. When the Cardinals game ended, that was no problem. That just means one less game to have to worry about. You're switching between 3 games and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, when the Braves game ended, you're focusing on your AL. And then when the Red Sox end, you flip immediately to the Tampa game. You see in Tampa, the fans go nuts on a 2 after Longoria took a pitch for ball 2. And then the next pitch, Longoria just goes boom and hits about a 310-foot pop-up that clears the fence by about that much. And the
Right
Rays
down
all of
the
a sudden
line.
go from potentially being 1 strike away in the 9th inning to being eliminated to on 1 pitch, basically in the span of 30 seconds, they get the wild card.
Yeah,
I'm exhausted talking about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I need to put my 5 cents, 10 cents in on this.
Come on,
Two things.
a quarter?
Boston, they shouldn't have lost to the Orioles. I mean, the Orioles, they're the spoilers. They're the ultimate spoiler team. They've always been on the bottom of the division. Of course, they're going to try their hardest to beat the Red
since
Sox.
Ripken left,
For the Red Sox to lose that game, they deserve not to go to the playoffs. And then the Braves, don't forget, the Phillies play them tough all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They're a nemesis. So Philadelphia, even to give credit to, maybe the Phillies realized if they knew ahead of time that the Cardinals would take them out, maybe they wouldn't have played as tough against the Braves. As fate would have it.
The focus on this, though, has to be that the teams that took over, the Cardinals and the Rays, took care of business over the team ahead of them.
Absolutely.
The Cardinals late season swept the Braves. If they don't sweep them, they obviously don't get it.
Right.
The Rays played the Red Sox 7 times in a span of 2 weeks and beat them 6 out of the 7 times.
Yeah.
And that gives them the
And that
confidence to
was
keep
more
pushing.
so than anything the chance that was able to shoot them up. Because for the Rays, that's a 5-game.
Right.
They gained 5 games on that. The Cardinals gained 3 games, and they shoot up in a hurry to a point where they can be competitive.
That's a Red Sox team that was considered the best team in baseball for
They were
most of the season,
predicted
too.
by
So
almost every single
It
analyst
was
going
amazing.
into the season
Hey, God,
to make the World Series.
yeah.
Ain't it funny, here in the Bay Area, the Giants being defending world champions, we got knocked out by Arizona, and you feel a little rejected, like we're not going to repeat, and but you understood it was because of the injuries. Then you see the last game of the regular season, and you almost don't, you're not even feeling as bad as Boston
That's
or the
what I was
Braves.
saying,
It's like
Thank
I don't feel. I thought I was feeling like, well, we're not even in the playoffs, but these teams are feeling worse than we are. So.
Okay, well, yeah, that was some awesome stuff. I think we can all agree, like Alex said. Wild Card Wednesday, Game 162 was probably the best. Was probably, like Alex said, the best day of baseball, maybe in history. It was just because even if your team's not in it, you're glued to the TV. What's going to happen? There are 4 games left.
Right.
What's going on?
And, the part that made this just so amazing is the fact that it dragged on and
Oh, yeah.
on.
Well,
These games, like I said, the Cardinal game was the only game that ended at a normal time in 9 innings without
Local.
any extra hoo-ha, whatnot. Braves game, 13 innings. The Red Sox and Orioles have an hour, 20-minute rain delay. And even then, it's got a little nutty and took longer than what a normal game over the 3-hour time limit, just in game time total, not just with the rain delay. The Rays and Yankee game goes 12 innings. Just even here on the West Coast, where these games started at 4 o'clock, these games ended at 9 o'clock or later.
Yeah.
And, if you're a fan of these teams, you're staying up after midnight on a Wednesday night. I know that if I were a team
gotta
and I
work
was
at
on
school
the
the
East,
next day.
if I was on the East Coast and I were a fan of those teams, I don't care how old I am. If I was a 7-year-old and I was a fan of these teams, I'm staying up till after midnight to make sure my team wins.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And okay, let's get ready to move into the actual playoffs. But yeah, I think we agree. Wild Card Wednesday was awesome. Let me go ahead and ask you guys this. After Wild Card Wednesday, we saw the Rays. We mentioned the Rays with the incredible comeback, Cardinals with the incredible comeback, but still. The Red Sox, you guys just, John and Alex, you guys just mentioned the Red Sox were pretty much the preseason pick to win the AL pennant. So the Red Sox are gone. The Phillies they were involved. They helped the Cardinals get in, but still they're in, and everyone's still thinking, well, okay, fine, but the Phillies are still going to, it's the Phillies. They have the pitching staff. Come on.
Yeah.
I, on this show, picked the Phillies to win the whole thing. That was before Wild Card Wednesday, but still, let me go ahead and ask you guys this: after Wild Card Wednesday, going into the division series, who would you see coming out into the series after that?
I can honestly tell you that I did think the Cardinals, because it's a game. This game is about how hot you are. You go into the postseason hot. That's why actually I thought the Rays had a chance. I also, again, you never know who, and the Rays spent so much energy on that series and on building up to the postseason. They just looked dead by the time Game 4 came around for the ALDS when they lost to the Rangers. But the Cardinals looked like, they built themselves for this. They were preparing for this, and they did it exactly the way they wanted to.
Well, and I think both teams were pretty much playing elimination games since mid-August. I mean, especially the Cardinals, but the Rays as well. But Ben, let me ask you, Alex just brought up a good point about the Rays pretty much looking dead by Game 4 of the DS. I mean, they were just done. They were spent. Do you think, they got in similarly to the Cardinals, same way, miraculous comeback, win on the final day. Do you think a lot of the fact that the Cardinals made it as far as they did and the Rays didn't had to do with maybe who their manager was and the postseason experience and the veterans on that team? Because let's face it, the Rays are fun because they're a young, exciting team with a good manager in Joe Madden. But the Cardinals are a veteran team who've been there. A lot of them have been to the postseason, know how to play, know how to win then, and they've got Tony La Russa as one of the most successful postseason managers in baseball history.
Yeah, boy, La Russa has got to be one of the, at first, easiest managers to question some of the moves he makes. And then, it seems like half the time you're like, well, that wasn't a good move. And then half the time you're like, that didn't seem like a good move, but it was. I kind of root for the guy. He's been doing it for a long time and always has a kind of fresh spin on the game, even after all those years. And I like the players they've assembled. I think they're kind of a likable team. No Prince Fielders. No,
you don't like Beast Mode?
No, Niger Morgan.
You don't like Beast Mode?
No, I was going to say on the flip side, that don't have Tony Plush.
Well, I can agree with you on both of those because I know a guy that's on the St. Louis Cardinals team. His younger brother is a classmate of mine at St. Francis, and Daniel Descalso on the Cardinals. So I can agree with you that they're a likable team. And not only that, how can you not like a manager who bats his pitcher eighth?
Thank you. By the way, I wanted to bring that up. Local boy does good. I think we can all agree. Daniel Descalso, congratulations to that kid. Wow.
Well, of
to
course.
get as far as they did, just like a Redwood City kid goes to St. Francis. Talk about a local kid doing good. I think that's an awesome story right
the
there.
Brewers have Casey McGee, who's from Santa Cruz.
And the Phillies have Jimmy Rollins, who's from the East Bay. So there was a lot of
And the
local
Giants
Bay Area
have
stuff.
Pat Burrows from Boulder Creek.
Okay, thank you. Dave,
There's some Central Coast talent out there.
Let's go into the division series here. We have obviously four good series coming in. What to you? Which was the best out of the 4 division series?
I like the Brewers and the Diamondback series. They were both even teams, and I was definitely being biased. I was going for the Brewers because Diamondbacks were the team that won the NL West. But in reality, I thought the Diamondbacks could go far. I thought they were serious contenders to go to the World Series and have that kind of hot streak. Got Kirk Gibson, their manager. As a player, he led the Tigers and the Dodgers. I hate to say that, but he led them to the World Series titles. But the Brewers, at home, at that point, you saw why they had the best home record in baseball, I believe, and it was a 5-game series. It went close, and the Brewers, they won that series. So I think that
on a walk-off by Tony Plush, by the way. Yeah. Ben, your best division series.
My best?
What do you think was the best division series?
Oh boy, I don't like to think past yesterday, to tell you the truth. Boy.
Phillies and Cardinals.
Do you want to think about it? I can go to someone else.
Yeah, let's hear someone else's opinion.
John.
Yeah, Phillies, Cardinals was good. I really thought the Brewers were gonna go all the way. I was surprised they didn't. That was a good series against Arizona. I thought they had the pitching to match up with anybody, with Greinke, Markham, Gallardo. Those 3 can match up with anybody.
Sure.
So
Except maybe the Giants 3.
I knew
4.
someone was going to
But
say
they weren't
that.
in there,
I knew that was coming.
So,
Giants,
Yeah.
but
With other teams in there.
the
though, I think
Giants,
that
the
was
Brewers,
best 3.
Phillies, they all have pretty good top 3 that could go head-to-head.
Phillies, of course.
So that was probably my favorite series. I thought Arizona, they were hot. They were going in. They're young. Kennedy is coming off a great season. So that was a good one. Brewers.
Yeah, I mean,
Arizona.
for me, I think I liked both National League series the best. I mean, just the fun, not just because I'm a Giants fan and the and the Phillies wanted to kick our butts, but just the way that that series got played out and the dominating start by Chris Carpenter to end that series 1-0, and then Ryan Howard to ground out as a tying run at the plate in the final game. I mean, that was just an awesome finish to that series, and I like the Diamondbacks Brewers series. Like you said, Dave, very even, good series. Both, they won at home. Each team won at home. I thought that was awesome.
It's funny because Carpenter with that 1-0 shutout, he outdueled Holiday, right? The top guy, so-called. He'll probably win the Cy Young, I believe, this year. And if you forget, like 5 years ago, Carpenter or 2005, he won the Cy Young Award. Right. And they were both ex-teammates with Toronto. They're best friends. They still go out. So just imagine, like, you're beating your best friend, and you're not, like, it's just a couple. It was definitely a competitive game. That game 5 was definitely a good one.
That was an important game. A lot of people forget that Adam Wainwright of the Cardinals hurt his elbow, got Tommy John surgery before the season even started.
Right.
So they're basically missing a guy who went 20.
That was the big news in spring
went
training.
20 and 11 the year before.
Huge.
He was out. So
okay, well let's move to the league championship series, and I think we got to start with the National League. I mean, that was not only was that a great matchup with the Cardinals Brewers, but it was a good matchup, I think, because one, they're division rivals. They were even. They played each other 18 times in the regular season. We're 9-9.
And these two teams
didn't
like each other.
Hated each other. Let me tell you, Dodgers and Giants, I think we can all agree that rivalry is pretty much amongst the fans.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, the Cardinals Brewers players do not like each other at all.
Nigel Morgan and Albert Pujols aren't going to get dinner anytime soon.
Nigel Morgan's not going to get dinner with many people other than on the Brewers.
No.
Anytime soon, to put it that way.
But Tony Plush would pick.
Yeah.
I don't even think. I think Tony Plush, it's worse for him.
From San Francisco,
So
Nigel Morgan.
let's start with you, John.
Yes.
Looking at the NLCS, starting it, how did you see this playing out?
Well, I had the Brewers going to the World Series, so I obviously had the Brewers in that series. The Cardinals, they've been getting some good. They have really good bullpen. I think it's underrated. Sapchinski, the lefty they got from Toronto, the Colby Rasmus trade, where they got Edwin Jackson, they got Octavio Dotel, and they got Zapchinski. That really bolstered their pitching. John Jay stepped in and played a great center field for him. He's kind of fallen off a little bit, but so I liked the Brewers in that one. I thought they had the pitching, but obviously it went the Cardinals' way. So.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was pointing to myself because my name's Dave Frias.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, I believe.
World Series hero, ladies.
No, not even that. But NLCS, he had a great. That's where he really blossomed in that series against the Brewers, winning the MVP of the NLCS.
And another local boy does good story for the Cardinals. He's from St. Louis.
And he may just as well win the MVP of the World Series.
Oh, absolutely.
When it finishes up.
Alex, John mentioned the bullpen, and I think to me that was the key of the entire NLCS and the whole National League playoffs leading up to the World Series. Big part was that Cardinal bullpen. During the National League playoffs, they were lights out. That bullpen, they didn't let anything happen. You put them in the bullpen, that's it. Game over.
And it's easier to forget that Ryan Franklin, their closer to begin the year, was terrible. Basically retired a month into the season, so they went through about 5 different closers
until they found Mott.
Somehow were able. I think Salas ended up leading their team in saves with about 24, but they ended up just being able to pull together that trade. That was a big trade from Toronto. That's where it really started. They brought their bullpen together.
See, that's the thing. I mean, you could draw, and I know everyone's going to get sick and tired pretty soon of the 2010 Giant comparisons, but the Cardinals really are a lot like the 2010 Giants.
Plus Albert
superstar
Pujols.
player.
They don't have a superstar player. Outstanding
They do
bullpen
have a superstar.
Well, okay, they have 3
superstars.
But you're right. They have. Sorry, I screwed that one up. But they have a dominating bullpen, especially in the postseason. And their general manager at the trading deadline, Ambio, went up and picked up these little key parts that don't look like big moves Big contributions in the
Well,
postseason.
the biggest one is their team MVP this year, Lance Berkman.
Yeah.
Look at what Berkman's done all year.
One-year deal.
Everybody thought, oh, this guy, where the heck is he going to play? Berkman's like, if I can't play the outfield, I'm going to retire. He legitimately would have retired if he couldn't play the outfield for the year because he wasn't playing first because Pujols is there. He plays phenomenally in the outfield enough that they don't have to bench him. And then all of a sudden he has an MVP-like season as a hitter, whereas it's not at the level that he's going to be an MVP candidate amongst Braun and Kemp. But for what he did for the Cardinals, and the fact that he's still doing it, all of a sudden after he finished with the Yankees, people thought he was going to retire. And now he signs up, and now he's leading a team into the World Series. He could be around for a couple more years. This is this is on the same level, I think, of a Barry Bonds-like career revival.
Could
is
be.
that
Yeah.
he looks, and Bonds had it more so, whereas it kind of it was good, then it got great, and it started to dwindle down. Whereas Berkman kind of had fallen off, and then he's revived himself so strong,
Just
he
imagine-
could ride it for another 2 or 3 years.
Ben,
Imagine what playing in
speaking of-
Houston for 10 years would do to anybody.
Let me ask you this then. Speaking of Berkman, I don't want to spend too long on this, but Ben, I'll just ask you this. Berkman, Alex mentioned it looked like he was going to retire after the Yankees. It looked like it was done. Is he legitimately the comeback player of the year?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds
all
like
right.
you're asking me if I'm a fan of the Big Puma.
But there's no doubt in my mind Berkman's a comeback player of the year. And the interesting thing
Oh, it's
is
got to
that
be Vogelsong.
I don't see. He never
biased.
he never
Yeah,
established himself enough in
Right.
the big leagues,
Right.
which is where Berkman's going to get it. But remember what Berkman said at the beginning of the year about how the only reason why he didn't want to go to Texas is because he didn't think they'd have the pitching.
Oh,
Well, look at how Texas did. They only get back to the World Series
Good
for the
bullpen
second
as
straight
well,
year.
right? Good
Derek
bullpen.
Because
Ball
of
and
their
his 2 o'clock
pitching.
mustache just
Yeah.
Yeah. The worst mustache in baseball, by far.
I mean, that mustache is about, I would say, twice as bad as Tim Lincecum's mustache. And
yeah, that was
Lincecum's
bad,
mustache
yeah.
was terrible.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys this. We're starting to be running out of time, but the postseason, we discussed, the final day, division series, the National League Championship, which I think, the ALCS was pretty good too, but I think just because of the rivalry involved and the home team record for the Brewers and how evenly matched the Cardinals Brewers is, to me, that was the best of the League Championship series, even though the AL series was very good too. But, okay, so it's just, I lost my train of thought. But the World Series, I mean, how could, the way the World Series went, it just capped off an incredible postseason. And I think we can all agree that's why we love baseball and that's why we watch. It was just a whole lot of fun.
I mean, there's so much intrigue as to what can happen. The bullpen that had been so strong for the Cardinals throughout the rest of the postseason. Game 2, Mott blows it in the
Right.
ninth. Then all of a sudden, when you think Texas has a chance to really capitalize on this, Albert Pujols comes out and has the, as some people say, the greatest baseball player ever to play a game in the World Series in the universe. And just
If it was against
this
the Yankees,
generation.
they'd say
has
that.
a monstrous game, a game that, is unheard of. And then you come back in Game 4, and Holland shuts down the same Cardinal team that scored, I believe it was 16 runs in Game 3, and shuts them out. And then Game 5, you have phone gate with Tony La Russa not being able to get an actual phone call and get the right
or
guy
see
in.
into the bullpen.
twice, right?
Twice. He did it twice. And then Game 6, that game
Wow,
was
you know what?
Back and
I'm
forth.
Yeah, I was
sorry,
gonna say,
guys.
you
We
said
don't
wild
have
card
time to
wins
talk.
games,
Our next time we got to go into Game 6 in further detail. We don't have enough time because there's so much we can talk about for
And
Game
Game
6.
7.
But quickly, let me ask you this: after a great postseason, you look toward the offseason, big free agency, and we'll get more into that as the window goes on. Pujols and Fielder,
Not to mention,
two of the biggest names. Do they go? Where do you see? Are they staying with the Cardinals and Brewers? What do you see happening there?
Pujols stays with the
Pujols
Cardinals.
stays for sure.
You think?
I think they're willing.
The Yankees
He's
just
willing.
love him.
He's willing to take a pay cut to stay with the Cardinals because that's his team.
Yeah.
Like I just read an article in Yahoo saying that can you imagine Pujols in a jersey other than the Cardinals? No.
Right.
Just like Derek
I
Jeter.
can't.
Just like Derek Jeter is the perfect model. you can say. For the Yankee pinstripe jersey, Pujols is the same way with the Cardinal jersey. You can't. No one other than Stan Musial, I think, has ever worn that jersey as well as Pujols has.
Especially with his postseason performance this year, you can't let him go.
I just remember my train of thought. The pool. Yeah, I mean, well, okay. Fielder's pretty much already said he's gone. Real quick, where do you see him ending up?
God, I feel like the Yankees. I don't know what they do with him, but it seems like the perfect guy
Have
to
to
the
put him at
Yankees.
first, what else? Or DH.
The team that's a shocker now, after Theo Epstein gets hired, what about the Cubs?
Could
The
happen.
Cubs had interest in
Well, wait
Pujols
a
at the
minute.
beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Well, if
Actually,
Pujols
John said the
stays,
same thing.
I got
to me on the
another one, Dave. What about this? I read the possibility that this could. What if Fielder to the Dodgers?
I don't think they don't have the money for it. Frank
Yeah.
McCourt's lost so much
Because
money,
he'd
he
be a
doesn't have the
great
money
fit
for
in
it.
LA,
Yeah.
and
They really
you
go
know,
bankrupt.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got 1 minute left.
We have 1 million. Yeah, you know.
Let's make picks for the night, please.
Let's just please go around for Fielder Pujols. We both said Pujols stays. You said Fielder the Yankees. Dave, what about each of them? Where do you think?
Pujols stays and Fielder signs with another team.
Pearl stays. Fielder's gone. He's already pretty much said he's
Which
gone.
team for Fielder?
At this moment, I say the Cubs. I think the Cubs.
Cut? Really? Okay.
What
I
a-
could see him possibly Boston, maybe.
I think it is Chicago. What about you?
Pujols definitely staying. I would love to see Fielder go to the Rockies. I know it's not going to happen, but I want to see Fielder, Cargo, Tulowitzki.
That would be
Helton's
incredible.
getting old.
It
They
would
need
be.
a first
Okay,
baseman.
you know what, guys? This has been a great
All right,
postseason.
no, come on, indulge me.
Sure
What's Game
has.
7?
Great discussion. And we got to, next time we're going to discuss the World Series at length. We'll go into the offseason more. This is going to be a fun offseason and a fun sports year. So thanks for joining us. For Ben, Dave, Alex, John, I'm Thomas. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
So you
Big
guys,
Puma.
come on, man.
We ran
I
out
take
of
the
time.
Cardinals
Yeah, we
tonight,
ran
by the